Okay, guys, I guess everyone is here. So let's get started without any further ado. Before we do so, a quick formal introduction on my end. My name is Mohammed Shoaib. I will be your cybersecurity trainer from DURGASOFT for the entire duration of this course. Again, I've had an experience of 7+ years in this domain. Again, I've worked as an ethical hacker, as a web application penetration tester, and currently also working as a SOC analyst, security operations center analyst. Okay. And I've been training students since the last 5 years, though. And again, I've trained in multiple institutes. This is one of them. I trained for a few institutes in Bangalore as well. Okay, the same trainer in a couple of different institutes again. And yeah, the demo that we're going to take today is on a course called Certified Ethical Hacking version 13 from the organization EC Council, one of the most well-recognized organizations based in the United States itself, specifically for getting certified or learning concepts in cybersecurity. Okay. Now, before we progress further, a small question. Has anyone attended the workshop yesterday, guys? We took a workshop yesterday at 10 o'clock. I actually took the same session, the certified ethical hacking demo itself. Are there anyone who are joining the session today after attending yesterday as well? Because this is going to be the same session, guys, because I have a list of new students today. So I will have to repeat this one session today. Has anyone joined the workshop yesterday at 10 o'clock in the morning?
No.
Oh, okay, perfect then. Perfect. So yeah, let's progress further. Now we'll start this demo course with the definitions of what hacking and ethical hacking are. Because a lot of students have misconception that these are one and the same. Okay. But let me clarify those with the definitions of each of these terms. Now, when you talk about hacking, guys, this is specifically the process of trying to gain access to information systems. Now, these information systems could be anything. They could be as small as a mobile phone to your computer laptop or a web application server or a database containing the data of millions of users. Okay. So hacking is the procedure of trying to gain access to information systems without the permission and the knowledge of the organization or the person owning those systems. So let's say if I hack your phone, it basically means I've got complete control of your phone and the data on it without your permission and without your knowledge. So once I've gotten that access, I can steal your data, I can destroy or completely delete that data from your phone, or I can sell your data to other third-party people or third-party vendors on the internet, okay, or on the dark web as well. Okay. And all of these operations are usually performed by hackers for their own benefit. Okay. And again, sometimes hackers are so mischievous, they can even do it just for fun, just for the sake of it, and without even any personal benefit out of it. Okay. Now, if hacking is such a malicious task, if it is such an illegal activity, why do we have a course called ethical hacking? And how is this getting ethical in the first place? Ethical is something which is legal, which is allowed. How is hacking again becoming legal or becoming allowed? Okay. So when you talk about ethical hacking, on the other hand, this is the procedure of finding vulnerabilities. So this terminology called vulnerability is something that will keep coming across throughout the course, guys. To define it, it's a loophole, it's a flaw or a weakness in the security of your information systems. So your job as an ethical hacker is to find these vulnerabilities in the information systems in the organization. Okay. Now, why do we need to find these? Because these are what hackers look for as well. They try to find the vulnerabilities and they try to take advantage of those vulnerabilities or exploit them to perform attacks or cyber threats. So your job in ethical hacking is to find these vulnerabilities in the information systems before the hackers do. And this is done with the consent and with the knowledge of the organization. So you do not work behind the scenes or anything. You work hand in hand with the organization. And once you find the vulnerabilities, you report it back. Once the vulnerabilities are reported back, the company can apply the necessary security updates, also commonly known as the security patches. Okay. And once these patches have been applied, there is no other chance of any hacker exploiting those vulnerabilities or performing any cyber threats. So your job as an ethical hacker is to protect your organization from these cyber criminals by finding the vulnerabilities, reporting them, and remediating them or patching them up. Okay. Now, depending on these two simple definitions here, we can categorize the types of hackers, guys. You already know two categories, white hat and black hat. Okay. And there's one more third category called gray hat. Now, your black hat criminals or black hat hackers are basically cyber criminals itself. These are people who perform hacking for their own benefit or for fun without asking for consent. On the other end of the spectrum, we have white hat hackers, cybersecurity professionals, or ethical hackers who abide by the laws and policies of the organization and work for securing the organization's infrastructure from these cyber threats. Okay. And in between, there's a third mysterious category called gray hat hackers. Now, these are people who have both the qualities of a black hat hacker as well as a white hat hacker. So, like a black hat hacker, they don't ask for permission first. Okay. But once they do find the vulnerability, like a white hat hacker, they report it back to the company. Okay. But there's a minor catch here. They don't do it for free. They do it in return for a bounty. A bounty is like a financial reward they expect in return for finding the vulnerability and reporting it to the company without misusing it. Okay, so therefore these grey hat hackers are also commonly known as bug bounty hunters. They hunt for bugs or vulnerabilities in systems for a bounty in return, a reward in return. So they're hunting for bugs and in return for bounties. Hence the name bug bounty hunters. Okay. Now, no matter what category of a hacker you take, your cyber criminals or your ethical hackers or your bug bounty hunters, respectively, all of these perform hacking or ethical hacking in a professional manner. They follow a certain framework. Again, this framework gives almost, I would say, 80 to 100% of success rate. Okay. And again, this is a framework which has been developed by the US military itself by an organization called Lockheed Martin. And this framework is called Cyber Kill Chain. And your course, Certified Ethical Hacking by EC Council, focuses on the same exact framework. Okay. So this framework, sometimes referred to as cyber kill chain or sometimes as hacking cycle, is the procedure that is followed by hackers in order to perform a successful cyber attack. And the same procedure also allows cybersecurity professionals to understand how these attacks are being performed, to detect these attacks at every stage in the organization, and to prevent them at every level. Okay. So this again, whole entire framework of cyber killing explains how do you attack these systems and also how do you defend these systems from various types of attacks at various stages of that attack. Okay. In any organization on any sort of a device. That's what cyber kill chain is. And our entire course of certified ethical hacking is going to revolve around these steps that are involved in cyber kill chain. Okay. And there are five important steps to this, guys. Before we get into this, any questions or doubts up to this point? Anyone? Am I going too fast? Am I too slow? Is the audio fine? Any issues with the meeting? Avinash, Fatima, Swaroop, Santosh.
Fine,
Uh,
sir.
all good? Okay, guys. Shivasankar. Okay. Excuse me. Right. So again, as mentioned, so this cyber kill chain or hacking cycle, audio not clear. Let me check my audio settings. Hello, one, two, three. Hello. Seems to be fine from my end, Santosh. Others, can you hear me? Am I audible fine? Swaroop,
Yes, sir.
Saho,
Clear.
Avinash.
We are feeling a bit unwell, so like that's the reason maybe.
Sorry, Saho, I can't hear you. Your voice is very low.
No, we feel your voice is bit cracked. Cracked in the sense I feel you are not well. So.
Oh yeah, I have a bit of a sore throat, but I hope I'm clear though. I
Yeah,
don't know if
yeah,
I'm
clear.
tracking. Okay, let me just get some water. Just give me 1 minute, guys. I'll just get some water. Okay. Right. So let's continue from where we left off, guys. I hope the audio gets better and there's lesser of cracking. But let's see. Again, if there's any issues, please do let me know. If I'm completely inaudible or if you're not able to make out what I speak, then I'll try to make changes also, okay, accordingly. So yeah, let's get into the hacking cycle part, guys, as mentioned. So this hacking cycle consists of five important steps in it. First step is called as information gathering. Oh, 1 second, let me change this. Yeah. So the first step is called as information gathering. Second step is called as scanning. Third step is gaining access. Fourth step is maintaining access. And the last step is reporting or clearing traces. These are the same exact five steps that are involved in the hacking cycle or cyber kill chain that is followed in every single organization. Okay. So this framework consists of these five steps itself. And again, if you know, if you notice, only in the last step have two different terminologies, reporting or clearing traces. What I want to indicate by that is no matter what kind of hacking you perform, whether it be your, again, ethical hackers, so penetration testing, or cyber criminals, cyber threats, the procedure is exactly the same. What changes is only the last step. So whether it be white hat hackers, gray hat hackers, or black hat hackers, first four steps are exactly identical. There is no change in the procedure in the first four steps. What varies is only the last step. If you are a white hat hacker or a gray hat hacker, you report the vulnerabilities back to the organization. That is reported. Okay. And if you are a black hat hacker, on the other hand, you don't report anything back to the organization. You hide evidence of your actions. You try to remove the evidence. You try to delete the logs, etc., etc. Those operations are commonly called as clearing traces. Okay. So no matter what the procedure is, whether it be by cyber criminals or whether it be by ethical hackers or any, the first procedure involves the same exact five steps. Okay. And our entire course is going to revolve around these five steps itself. And today I will be explaining each of these steps one by one briefly. And just giving you an intro on each of these steps so you have a better idea about the entire course. Okay. So the first thing we have here is information gathering. Some organizations also refer to this as reconnaissance or footprinting, guys. And the objective over here is to gather as much information as possible about the target organization. And an important point to note here is all of this information is obtained passively. What I mean by passively is you do not contact the organization in any way. You obtain all of this information from third party sources, from some special websites on the internet, which act as gold mines of data. I would say. Right? So if you just know what those websites are, again, you can perform information gathering and figure out what data you need to obtain as an ethical hacker or a cyber criminal. And again, figuring out, again, if I had to give you an example of what pieces of data we would try to gather, this is a small list. So we try to get the IP addresses, the network blocks, the host records, the DNS records, domains or subdomains, OS information, employee details, contact numbers, email addresses, okay, or usernames and passwords of the employees which have been leaked online in data breaches. Okay. So this is a very small example of what data we try to obtain. It's much more comprehensive than this when we get into the course. Okay. But just to give you an intro of what data do we try to obtain in information gathering phase. And believe it or not, all of this information is readily available on the internet. All you need to know is what those websites are from where you can get this information. If I show you a small practical for this, again, let's say if I wanted to get the DNS records of any organization, I can just go to my browser here, and in my browser, I can search for a website called DNS Dumpster. DNS Dumpster. Okay. And I can click on the first website here. And this is capable of providing me the DNS records of any organization. Now, could you please do me a favor and give me an organization's name, guys? Any organization for that matter. Again, a website, any example would be good. Again, I think we can just search for, let's say, Microsoft for now. If I just search for Microsoft.com, these are the DNS records specifically currently to Microsoft. So if I scroll down, you can see where these servers for Microsoft are located geographically. Now, again, that is not the most important takeaway from this website, but if I scroll down here, you can see these are the various servers belonging to Microsoft, their domains, and their exact IP addresses. Okay. Again, as mentioned, when you talk about attacking a certain server from an organization, the first thing you would want to know, or you would need is their IP address. Okay. And these are the various servers belonging to Microsoft, their web servers, and their exact correlating IP addresses. That's what a DNS server does, link a domain name with its IP. But don't worry, we'll talk about a lot more in depth on that in the upcoming sessions. So these are all the web servers of Microsoft. Scroll down much further, you get the mail servers as well. So this is one of the mail servers using Outlook, and they are DNS servers. Okay, and these are some other records, and this is the entire topology, the online network topology of Microsoft and their respective servers. Yeah. Okay. Now, this can be obtained for any organization on the internet. And please note, this is not illegal in any way. Microsoft itself needs to give out this information, but it is scattered across the internet. What this website DNS dumpster does is it collects all that data and puts it in one single place for easy access. Okay. You can do a search for any organization. I've searched for Microsoft. You could go for anyone. Let's say Wipro, and you see, I get the information for Wipro now. Their mail servers, I mean their web servers, their mail servers, their DNS servers, etc., etc. Okay. Now, this sort of information is available as mentioned for any organization of your choice. And again, this is only one piece of information. We would have to obtain all the other pieces of information as well from various other websites. Okay, that's what information gathering involves. Again, a very important step. If you do information gathering right, the remaining 60% of the work is almost done, I would say. Okay, because the more information you gather and the more accurate information you gather, the more higher possibilities are there of you finding vulnerabilities on the target. Okay. Now, after all this information has been gathered from information gathering phase, that is utilized in the next phase, which is scanning, also commonly known as enumeration. Again, the objective here is to also gather information, but by active connections. Okay, so the information that you obtain here is very much different from what you've obtained earlier. Earlier, we got the data passively without making any contact. But here now, whatever information was obtained in the earlier phases, domain names, IP addresses, email addresses, etc., you now make connections on those and you try to get some extra data. Okay, and that data can be broken down in three parts again. There's something called as network scanning, port scanning, and vulnerability scanning. Network scanning is where you try to figure out in the organization how many devices exist, how many servers do they have, how many routers do they have, how many firewalls do they have, how many, again, client operating system devices do they have, what kind of servers do they have any extra security measures, intrusion detection systems, intrusion prevention systems. So, getting an internal network topology, getting the idea of their internal network in the organization is network scanning. Once you know what devices exist, on those devices you perform port scanning, trying to figure out what ports are open and what services or what applications are running on those devices. Once you know what services are running or what applications are running, finally we have vulnerability scanning where we figure out what vulnerabilities or what misconfigurations exist on those services and how you can attack those services. So it's a step-by-step procedure. You're finding the devices first, then you're finding the again services running on those devices, and then you're finding which service could have a weakness to attack on. And during this phase, we'll be using two very important tools. One of them is called Nmap, which stands for Network Mapper. Okay, a very popular tool, been there since 1997. Okay, and completely open source. Anyone can use it for free. And there's another tool called Tenable Nessus. Now, this is not free, guys. This is quite an expensive tool. If you click on the first link here, this is a vulnerability scanner. And this is around the last I checked, $7,000 for that, and that only for 1 year subscription again. Every year you need to pay 7,000 to use this tool. And this is the same tool that is used in organizations in real time to perform vulnerability scanning. And we will be working on the same exact tool. I will be showing you how to install this, how to run this in an organization, and how do you perform vulnerability scanning with the same exact tool. Again, if you know this tool, again, you will be again eligible for a lot of these various job descriptions, which are again available for penetration testers or security consultants, etc., etc. This is the same tool that they would work on. Okay, and I'll practically be showing you the same exact tool in real time. Okay. The reason I show you all this is to give you an idea that whatever tools we work on, guys, are the same exact tools that I've worked on in my professional environment. Okay, in real time. Okay. So all the tools and the practicals I show are very hands-on with the experience I've had over the years in the organizations. Okay. Now, once all of this is done, once we are done with vulnerability scanning and all different other types of scanning, then we get into the next phase, which is gaining access. So this is the phase where the real hacking occurs. Okay, so basically, whatever vulnerabilities were found in the earlier phases are now utilized here to perform the attacks on. So you try to attack the system or the application or the entire network of the organization. Okay. Because that's the next step, obviously. Once you know what weaknesses exist, you attack on those weaknesses. And that is what gaining access is. Okay. Any questions or doubts before we get into the gaining access modules? Anyone? Avinash, Fatima, Swaroop, Santosh, Saho.
No, sir.
No, sir.
Yeah, okay. Hi, Arjun. I think you've joined a bit late today, but don't worry. The session is being recorded and this will be uploaded on YouTube, guys, if I've not mentioned that already. These are the demo sessions. So for the first 1 week, we have demos. Okay. And each of these sessions is being recorded and you will have this uploaded on YouTube. So if you have missed out a session, you can access the demos from there as well. Okay. And yeah, let's progress further. So again, just in case, if this is still not a bit clear, guys, if you're still unable to differentiate between information gathering and between scanning and gaining access, I try explaining sometimes with examples as well. So students have a better, again, an easier understanding. So let's say, again, a very commonly used example that I always keep showing is of a bank robbery. So let's say we were the bank robbers, we were the thieves, and we had to rob a bank. Okay. So the first thing I do as a bank robber is I would observe the bank externally. So without making any contact with the bank, I try to observe that bank and get information about it. So I'm trying to obtain information passively. Okay. So I'd get information such as how many entrances are there for the bank, how many security guards are there outside the bank, how many floors are visibly outside on the bank. So how many floors is the bank again externally visible at least. Okay. On what day of the week does the money man come to the bank? Okay. So this is all information which I can obtain without making any contact with the bank, without making any suspicious activity. Okay. This is information gathering. But is this information sufficient for me to rob the bank? Definitely not. I need to get the internal infrastructure as well, right? So I have to enter the bank once. Okay. But this is where I'm making direct connection. So I will get captured in their CCTV cameras. They will get to know that a certain person entered the bank on a certain day. I can hide that activity in a certain way. I can try to mask myself or do something. There are techniques for that, but I will have to make a direct connection. This is scanning. So once I'm inside the bank, I get extra information. So internally, what extra security measures do they have? Do they have any, again, metal detectors also? Okay, if so, how many metal detectors are there? How many other CCTV cameras are there inside the bank? Okay, where is the bank locker located? Is there a hidden basement floor? Okay, which is not visible externally. So this is all scanning, okay, trying to get the internal infrastructure of the organization, but by making active connection. Now, once I've got the data externally and internally, now the next thing is checking up, I mean, setting up a certain date or going and attacking the bank or robbing the bank. That is your gaining access module. Okay. So I hope that makes it slightly more easier to understand. If not, okay. And yeah, in this gaining access module, guys, it's a huge variety of concepts. But basically, the main takeaway here is we're trying to attack each and every endpoint, from as small as a mobile phone to as big as a web application server or a database. So first we talk about system hacking, the first phase here. Let me just point it out. Yeah, better. Let me just get some water as well, guys. 1 second. Right. So as mentioned, the first step is system hacking. This is the phase where we try to attack any Windows operating system or a Linux operating system and crack their passwords. So let's say if a hacker has attacked your system and logged you out of your own device, you need to know how to get back into your system and how do you get access back to your data. So we learn how do you crack or bypass any Windows operating system password or Linux password for that matter. Okay, so that's what system hacking is. Another technique of hacking systems is malware attacks. Okay. What are malwares, which are malicious softwares? What are the categories of malwares available in them? How do you prevent malware attacks on your systems? And how do you detect these malwares if they are already installed on your system? Then there's a bonus concept called malwares advanced, where again, if anyone over here has knowledge on Python, this might be an additional bonus concept for you, understanding how to create malwares using Python programming. In our class, I'll show one module where I show you how to write malwares with batch scripting. Okay. So only for this one module, guys, we have requirement for some small amount of programming. Other than that, there's no much requirement of programming for this course. Okay. Then we talk about network penetration testing, where we talk about the various network related attacks. Attacks like sniffing attack, man in the middle attack, denial of service attack, hacking Wi-Fi routers, cracking the password for Wi-Fi routers. All of this falls under network penetration testing. Okay. So these attacks allow you to capture the passwords of other users in the network. They can allow you to shut down remote servers by overloading them with huge amounts of traffic and making them crash, or trying to crack the password of Wi-Fi routers. So all of these attacks are related to the network. Okay. Then comes social engineering attacks. This is where you try to figure out how do hackers create fake login pages. Okay. So no matter what social media page it be or what bank login page it be, how do hackers create exact replicas? How do they generate fake pages? How do they send them to the victims and get their credentials? So these are also commonly known as phishing attacks. We'll practically learn how do you perform phishing attacks and how do you distinguish between a genuine page and a fake page? How do you make people aware of these phishing attacks and what are the things to check for? Okay. Then comes hacking web servers. Basically, every organization has a website. That's the face of the organization. And it's hosted on a web server, locally, on premise, or on the cloud. Okay. So how do you check for vulnerabilities on the web server if it's on the premise? Okay. Or how do you check for vulnerabilities on that cloud environment through web application pen testing? Okay. So there's SQL injection, cross-site scripting, broken authentication, file upload vulnerability. Might sound very gibberish to you right now, guys. I'm pretty sure you might see again, you might see a lot of new terminology sometimes here. Okay, but don't worry, as we progress with our classes, you learn each of these techniques and these attacks. Okay, so using these attacks, basically hackers can get into websites, they can bypass authentication, they can hack into databases. Okay? They can upload malicious files to a server and get remote connections to those servers, etc., etc. Okay, if I show you an example for this, again, let's talk about SQL injection. Let's say a simple practical example. So basically, SQL injection is where you can try to bypass these authentications by injecting malicious SQL queries. Okay, but 1 second. These are some websites I've bookmarked just to show you what these websites vulnerabilities look like. So for example, guys, this is login page, let's say. Okay. So I have a login page here. Now this login page belongs to CPHE Delhi, if you notice. Okay, so this website is again a genuine website belonging to the Central Board of Higher Education. I've already reported this. They've not gotten back to me for some reason. Okay, but again, if you notice over here, there's a login page as well. Okay, where is it? Yeah, here. Okay, it's asking me for a user ID and a password. Okay, now just off the record, let me pause the recording for a while, just so that this is. So now let me resume the recording again. And yeah, after SQL injection and all, we have the next vulnerability, which is evading techniques. Okay. So when you talk about evading, every organization has some security measures. Okay. IDS, IPS, and firewalls, intrusion detection systems, intrusion prevention systems, and firewalls. So we'll practically be working on how do you bypass these devices if they have a loophole in them, if they have a misconfiguration. So how do you check for misconfigurations in the devices that are supposed to protect your organizations? That's what we learn in this module. Then comes vulnerability assessment. A vulnerability assessment is where once you get a report from a tool like Nessus, so this tool, Nessus, gives you a report of vulnerabilities. You just can't blindly trust that report. You have to verify if that report is correct or not. Okay, so that assessment of the vulnerabilities shown in this report is called as vulnerability assessment. Okay, and we perform that by performing manual attacks on those vulnerabilities. Okay, So that is VAPT, vulnerability assessment by penetration testing. And finally, we have hacking mobile phones, where we learn how do you attack an Android phone by sending malicious trojans to it and getting remote connections. Again, as mentioned, these are only some of the most important modules, guys. There's a lot more content actually. Okay, but this is to explain, as mentioned, the main important takeaway is understanding how do you attack each and every endpoint. We talk about system attack, we talk about network attack, we talk about wireless attacks, we talk about website attacks, web application attacks, web server attacks, firewall attacks, mobile phone attacks, every single endpoint that could possibly exist in an organization. We try to perform pen testing on each and every one of those. Okay. Any questions or doubts up to this module? Avinash, Fatima, Santosh, Saho, Vijay Kumar.
We'll ask at the end of the session.
Okay, okay. Okay. Others, anything to ask right now, by any chance? Okay. Assuming no questions, moving forward. Right. Moving forward. The last two modules left out are, oh, sorry, bundle options. Yeah, these are the last two modules left out, guys. Small modules itself, maintaining access and reporting or clearing traces. Maintaining access is now where once you've got a remote connection to a system, how do you maintain that ownership to that system? So even if the remote person or that device restarts or reboots, you should still be connected to that device. So that is also commonly known as a persistent connection. So how do you maintain these persistent connections is what we learn, maintaining access. And finally, we have reporting or clearing traces, where we learn as an ethical hacker, how do you generate a report for the organization, elaborating the loopholes, okay, and also providing solutions, okay. So how do you give the solutions? How do you tell them or elaborate them? These vulnerabilities in the format of a report is what we learn in the first phase, reporting. On the other hand, we also learn what black hat hackers do. As a cyber criminal, what do they perform as actions? Okay, how do they delete the logs? How do they erase the evidence of their actions? What are the key symptoms to look at when you know that someone has erased something from the system? Is what we learn in clearing traces. Okay. So the entire course is going to run in two tracks, guys. We perform something called red team activities, which is offensive hacking, and blue team activities. How do you defend against those offensive techniques? Okay. And the course is for a duration of 35 days, where we have classes from Monday to Friday every day at the same time, 7 o'clock itself. And this here concludes the demo for the first class. Okay. Understanding what the course is about and what topics we'll be covering throughout the course. As mentioned, each of these classes will be recorded, guys. So for the registered students, you will be getting these recordings directly on your email, which will be accessible to you for 6 months, okay, after the course is done as well. And you'll be getting these presentation slides, you'll be getting the notes, you'll be getting the recordings, all of this inclusive in the course price itself, which is 8,000 rupees. Again, trust me, I do train for some other institutes as well. Don't want to name them because they charge a lot higher for the same content. I'm the same trainer for them as well. I think it's just a change in the city and the cost of living there or whatever the reason for that institute be. Okay. But I've trained again for students in other institutes who are charging double or more than double for the same exact content, guys. So I think that is, I don't know, it's their choice. But yeah, I would say, frankly speaking, DurgaSoft is giving it for one of the best prices. Again, the least at least I would say. Okay. And yeah, that's about it, guys. Nothing further. As mentioned, the course is for a duration of 35 days. This is what we'll be covering in detail and a lot more throughout the course. Okay. And you have classes from Monday to Friday every day for 1 hour each. And please do not worry if you're not from the IT background. Even then, we'll be covering everything from the very basics, from scratch. So before we get into all these hacking concepts and all, we cover networking fundamentals, we cover Linux commands. Okay, I'll show you how to set up a practical lab environment on your own device, okay, so that you can have a lab accessible to you 24 by 7 to perform hands-on experience attacks. Okay. So all of this will be done before the ethical hacking topics. And everything is inclusive. So all the prerequisites are also inclusive in the course. So nothing to learn externally beforehand. All you need is a laptop or a computer with at least 6 gigabytes of RAM. 6 to 8 is recommended, and at least 50 to 60 gigabytes of free storage space. Okay. And yeah, that should be more than sufficient to get started. Any change in syllabus compared to, well, there's one new topic added, Arjun. I'll be explaining one class on Splunk. So for SOC analysis, earlier I would just explain it theoretically for that one bonus topic. But this course, again, since version 13 onwards, I've included a practical session, understanding what Splunk is. Okay. I'll show some searches and I'll show you what Splunk does. Okay. So there's one extra topic compared to that. And again, in the CH version 13, they've included some AI topics, but frankly speaking, they're not that implemented yet. Okay, there's one small tool called Shell GPT. Okay, which is just a shell version of Chat GPT. Okay, and you can get the commands automatically from the shell. But frankly speaking, no one is practically using it in the workplace today. Okay, so there's a few AI tools included. There's a few AI websites included. But again, nothing much of a change from EC Council itself. Okay. So yeah, that's one thing that I have added as a bonus from my end. Nothing changed in the syllabus format. Same syllabus, same content, same questions in the CH certification exams as well. So nothing much of a big change, I would say. Exactly, Arjun. So everything is up to date is what I can guarantee. Okay. But again, from version 12, there is no change to version 13 in matter of content from the EC Council. Any other questions, guys?
So, yeah, I have a couple of questions if you may allow me to ask.
Yeah, so please go ahead.
So, the course duration is 35 days. Do we need to attend any exams to get it certified? Like,
Again, there is an exam from the EC Council itself. If you're planning to get certified, if you need a certificate from EC Council, you have to write the CH certification exam. Again, that is quite a costly certification. If you're already working, I would recommend your company to sponsor it. I've seen students write it on their own expense as well. But again, it is again quite costly. It's around $500. I do keep getting discount coupons, again 5% discount, etc., etc. But still, it would still amount you to 37, 38,000 or so. Okay. And if you pass that exam, you get a certification. Okay. Not mandatory again, and again in all the organizations. Some organizations filter candidates on certificates, but not all again. So if you're skilled enough and you can show that in your resume, that is also good enough for certain organizations to replace the certification.
we are getting any certificate from DurgaSoft?
You will get a course completion certificate on the same exact course, Certified Ethical Hacking, Cybersecurity. That's a course completion certificate from DurgaSoft. But if you want it officially from EC Council, you have to write the exam for that.
Okay. So after this, after the completion of this course, we are trained enough to attend those exams, or do we
Yeah, definitely.
some
That's
are
your
not?
objective, right? So after this course is done, you will be eligible to write these exams and you will be prepared well enough to write it as well. If you need further assistance, I do usually conduct some mock exams as well over the weekends for interested candidates who are planning on writing the certification in the near future. If you just let me know heads up, I'll give you some mock exams. I'll give you some, again, sample questions, which I usually have seen repeat in the exams as well. So that should be more than sufficient to guarantee that you'll pass.
Got it. So, two more questions. Sorry, I'm taking a lot of time.
No problem.
Yeah. So for this, in between, I saw about something related to Python. So, what level of Python is sufficient to enroll for this?
Again, a very commonly asked question, good question. Again, guys, please note this point, repeating again. For this course, there is no requirement for any programming language. That is just a bonus topic if you're going into one specific part of cybersecurity called malware development. So in this cybersecurity, there are multiple different domains. There's web pen testing, there's network pen testing, there is malware development, malware analysis, cyber forensics, stock analysis, multiple different domains. So for one of those domains, which is malware analysis or malware development, I've included that bonus concept. Okay. So if you're familiar with Python, this is quite beneficial to you. If not, you can completely ignore it as well. No harm in that. Okay. For this course, there is no requirement for any programming language. In this course, we'll specifically be working on a lot of different tools. Tools like Nmap, Nessus, Metasploit, Wireshark, Splunk, Burpsuit, etc. etc. So you only need to know how to run these tools, how do you install them and work on them in an organization. No requirement for any programming language. Okay, please note. Again, I do get a lot of students who get confused, who get scared that there's programming involved. Nothing as such, guys. It was just a bonus concept for people who come from development background, who have experience in Python. It's like a bonus concept included for those guys. Okay, nothing more. Okay.
Yeah, I've seen some slides mapping on Python and SQLs. So
Yeah,
we
one
do
slide
have
I think I
a bit
mentioned it.
idea on those projects, means those tools, but I'm asking like what level, because I'm in very basic stage of learning those.
Again, as mentioned, nothing as such required. Everything will be shown from scratch, so nothing to worry. Even if you're from a non-IT background as well, you will be able to understand everything from scratch.
From SOC perspective, which endpoint tool and which email security tool you are going to
Santosh, your voice is very muffled. I couldn't understand your question. Which word?
Yeah, for SOC perspective, which endpoint security tool and which email security tool you are going to take? Like the CrowdStrike, Proofpoint, or DevOps, which one?
Which endpoint security tool is what you're mentioning? Again, as
Yeah,
mentioned, we'll be working on tenable nesses, Santosh. Nothing specifically
but
related to one single endpoint that is capable of performing vulnerability scanning on every single endpoint. And then you perform penetration testing on that. For that penetration testing, we'll be working on a tool called Metasploit framework. So this is the tool we would use to perform penetration testing on any single endpoint. So two important concepts we learn. One is vulnerability scanning and one is vulnerability assessment. For vulnerability scanning, to get the list of vulnerabilities, we use Nessus. Okay. For pen testing, we use Metasploit framework. Okay. Again, when you talk about CrowdStrike and all, it is capable of finding different types of issues with endpoints. It can check for malwares as well. These devices are not for checking malwares or if you're downloading some malicious content or not. These are for checking if the system has a vulnerable service running on it. If you're using an outdated service, if your OS has an issue in it, if you're downloading a third-party software which has a vulnerability in it, these tools are capable of checking that. When you talk about malwares, there are other tools for that. We'll work on that also. Okay. But we're not working on any specific endpoint EDR tool, okay, endpoint detection tool. Okay. This course is specifically related to penetration testing, finding vulnerabilities which are inbuilt in the software of your applications, your OS, or your third-party services that you use. Okay. Is that clear, Santosh?
that is clear.
Right. Others, any questions? Saho, are you done? I mean, you were asking, you said you had one more question. Did you ask all?
Yeah, not yet, sir. So one last question, like, do we have any projects to complete our course, or?
I wouldn't say it's a project, Saho, because you're not developing anything here. But by the end of this course, I will host a CTF challenge. Okay. So basically, I'll host a virtual machine in my network and I'll ask you to hack into it. So that would be a compilation of all the things you've learned throughout the course. Okay. Understanding how do you perform pen testing on a device which you have no access to or you have no experience on prior, because that is what you do as a penetration tester. Since this is where you're not developing anything, you're not building anything. So usually you don't have projects in cybersecurity. You have more of challenges. Okay. You will
Yeah,
be given a website, you'll be given a device to attack on. So we'll run a CTF challenge by the end of this course.
got it. Clear, sir.
Right. Any other questions,
Um,
guys?
Hello.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Uh,
sir. After completion of course, will you provide any kind of job assistance like that? So,
Again, this DurgaSoft does not provide any consultancy service as such, Fatima, but I do have, again, a few contacts from a certain HRs and a few of my friends who do keep posting requirements in their organizations. So as soon as I get those requirements, I do keep posting it in the WhatsApp group. Okay, so we will create a WhatsApp group once the course begins and have a registered list of students. Okay, and in that WhatsApp channel or WhatsApp broadcast channel or group, I'll be sharing these requirements, which I directly get from these various HRs and from my again other contacts as well. So again, no, we cannot call it a consultancy service. It's just a reference point of view. So as soon as I get a reference, I share it to my students, all of them, and you can start applying there directly. Okay. And I'll
Okay.
also be sharing some, again, commonly used websites for cybersecurity job roles. Okay. So I'll be sharing that as the course progresses, specifically for cybersecurity jobs. These
Mhm.
easier portals to get jobs on.
So this course is enough for getting a job.
Again, for these job roles such as penetration tester, security
Mhm.
consultant, SOC analyst level one, ethical hacker, these are the commonly used, again, applicable job roles for this course. And yeah, you will be eligible to attend all of these interviews for these job roles. Again, pretty easy to crack if you're skilled enough and you've practiced everything that is shown in the course and you've researched well.
Okay.
Okay. Any other questions, guys? Arjun, I hope I've clarified your question as well. Those are the job roles we can
Yeah. Oh,
apply for.
what can how much salary I can expect if I go for that experience?
Again, if you're completely applying as a simple fresher, Arjun, you could expect around 3.6 to 4. Okay, as a complete fresher. With 1 or 2 years of experience, it goes with around 6.5 to 8 or so, depending on company to company again. Okay. Again, tough
Okay.
competition in any domain, but just as a beginner, again, I think one of my students, yeah, recently they landed a job, 30K per month. So again, that would amount to your 3.6 per
Okay.
annum.
Okay. And like if I can expect around 10 lakhs per annum, what job role suits for me if I can.
But again, it's not about the job role, I would say, but again, a higher level in that. So
Mm.
when you go for SOC analyst level 2 or level 3 or
Mm.
triad specialist, etc., that would require some amount of experience, Arjun.
Oh,
So again, I would say at least 3 to 4 years of experience in this domain will give
okay.
you a job role with that amount of pay. Okay.
Okay.
So I would
Okay.
recommend after this course is done, you do some other advanced courses as well. At least with that knowledge, you can portray that you have had an experience. Okay. With just this course, you can't apply for jobs more than 2, 3 years of experience. Okay.
Okay. Okay.
Higher
Got
than that, you would have to do some advanced courses as well.
advanced courses as well. Okay. Got
I
it.
do train students on that also. So after this is in done, if you're interested, you can let me know.
All right. All right. No worries. Thank you.
Sure. Any other questions, guys? Any other doubts?
Sir, after completion of this course, we will be getting advanced courses from your site. Like if we are
I do.
interested to
Yeah,
enroll
I do
in that.
provide them privately. So if you're interested, I can share those contents later on, guys. But yeah, I do train students on advanced courses as well. Web application pen testing, SOC analysis using Splunk and IBM QRadar. So those are some advanced courses. Those are I train students privately on that.
Okay, okay.
Okay. So
So
anyhow,
if
yeah,
sir, if we get any doubt or like regarding if we are doing on a system, so you are there to help us out. Like,
I will again, as mentioned, once we have this list of registered students, I will be creating a WhatsApp group. So you'll be
mm-hmm,
getting my personal private number itself to ask any
mm-hmm.
such queries. So I'll be there. Even after the course is done, Fatima, you will have my contact. I do not
Yes,
give
sir.
my number because again, a lot of students have that same number. So I'm stuck to that number. I cannot change it. So you
Okay.
can definitely contact even after the course is done.
Mm-hmm.
That
Okay.
Oh, okay, sir. Thank you.
Perfect. No worries, guys. Again, please do join the session tomorrow at 7 o'clock, guys. Tomorrow we will be talking about the first concept of our course, which is basically networking fundamentals. Again, as mentioned, all the prerequisites are included in the course, guys. So we have to talk about networking basics first because this is quite important for cybersecurity. Okay. So tomorrow we talk about networking fundamentals. What are IP addresses? What are IPv4 addresses? What are the properties? Again, some of you might already have an idea on this, but again, quite important to take a recap, guys. Okay. So we'll
Okay.
cover all this in tomorrow's session. What is the first IP? What is the last IP? What is range of IP addresses? What are the categories of IPs? What are classes? What are public and private IPs? What is DHCP protocol? What is DNS protocol? We'll cover all that in the next session in tomorrow's class. So please do join tomorrow without fail. Okay, as mentioned, quite an important session, a very important prerequisite for cybersecurity. Same link, same time, same trainer. Okay. So yeah, that's time. Nothing further, guys. We can exit. Okay. Bye bye. Thanks for joining the session today. We'll connect tomorrow at the same time.
Okay.
Thank you,
Okay.
sir.
Thank you, guys. Bye.
Thank you, sir.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, guys. Bye. Bye bye.